So welcome to the Node.js Technical Steering Committee meeting for September 11th, 2019. We're going to follow our agenda, which was tagged, was in issue 753. So to start with, do we have any announcements that people would like to share?
If you're coming to the Node+JS Interactive Conference in Montreal this year, please remember to also book travel for the Collaborator Summit, which follows the 2 days after the conference, where all the projects from the OpenJS Foundation will be able to collaborate and share sessions, and it will be a fantastic moment for our community to be part of.
Sounds good. Bethany, I think you wanted to make mention of the upcoming 13 release.
Yep, so I'm tracking it over in the release repo. Preparations have started. We've created the 13 branches, so we're just following the guide, which is it's merged into Node Core now. So as part of the releases guide, we're following the major steps. By the looks of it, the 7th major cutoff that we normally do would be around the 22nd of September. So just something for people to bear in mind. And I've started kicking off a few test builds, etc. So that's the state of Node 13 at the moment.
Thank you, Beth, for doing that.
You said September 22nd, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah, it's good to know. Any other announcements people would like to share? Okay, if not, let's move on to the, oops, I need to promote Jeremiah. Move on to the issues that were tagged for the agenda. The first one is number 29455 in the Node.js node repo. Define OpenSSL dir and engine stir explicitly. I think that was probably tagged by Sam. If you're talking, Sam, you're on mute.
Sorry, I had trouble finding the right application. Yeah, I think people should be aware. I just wanted to bring it to people's awareness. It's a low priority issue affecting only Windows. Got a CVE of low. Fixing it is backwards incompatible. The issue in brief is that user local bin, or user local, somewhere in /user, excuse me, somewhere in /user/local is read for configuration by OpenSSL by default, except that on Windows, that's not a protected location. So if somebody already has access to the machine, then anybody on the machine can put data there. Changing out in 8.x is obviously backwards incompatible. There is a very, very low chance that somebody can actually be using it. And in order to attack it, you need to, have access to the machine. So Shigeki's recommendation is to not fix it on 8.x, just to leave it alone. And a few other people have agreed with that. And if anybody doesn't agree with it, they should chime in on the issue.
Okay, sorry, just finishing off the notes here. Okay, so any comments, questions on that before we move on to the next issue? Okay, I got another attendee to promote here. Okay, so moving on to the next issue, which is 29445, OpenSSL sec releases upcoming. So again, Sam, I think you're covering that one.
Yep. So yeah, just a reminder. So I added it to the agenda. So the security releases were delayed. They didn't happen yesterday. There were some sort of problems with OpenSSL, but they happened early this morning. Shigeki's already looked at the issues, and he says they don't apply except for one possibly, which is fork protection. I don't think fork protection actually applies to us because Node doesn't. We never fork and then continue to execute. We always fork and exec. to my knowledge. If anybody disagrees, I should speak up. So we think that quite literally none of the three issues affect Node at all. So the OpenSSL updates would fall firmly within a non-security. It's just another update to a new patch release of OpenSSL. And again, if anybody disagrees now, you can speak up, or you can comment in the.
Okay, so basically we'll just update OpenSSL in a regular release when it makes sense.
Yeah, it's just a patch release. I'll roll one out on master probably this afternoon or tomorrow, and I think we can just wait and let it roll down the lines. Or actually, Bethany, do you have a preference? Should I open up PRs against all of the release lines at the same time, or like for the OpenSSL 1.1.1 in particular, which affects master 12 and 10? Or should it be in master and then wait a while, and then when it comes time to backporting it to 12, do that, and then after 3 weeks backport it to 10, like we do the waterfall, or just do it?
I think the LTS releases will be at least 3 weeks from now anyway, so I guess it might make sense to get merged into 12 relatively soon, and then it will naturally be a few weeks' time until it trickles down through into 10 and 8 anyway.
Okay, so I can maybe I'll PR them right away, so at least they're ready when you choose to cherry pick them.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just. Okay, so moving on to the next issue, which is 29207. Make Control-C printed JS stack trace. There's definitely been some active discussion in there. Is somebody, is the person who tagged it for the agenda here? I'm just looking, but if you are, you can. So I think, Matteo, you tagged it.
Okay, which one? Sorry, I completely.
This is number 29207, which is about creating a stack trace on Control-C.
Yeah. So just to clarify, this issue has been going back and forth for a little. So it will be good if a bunch of folks, for the TSC to engage, for the folks of the TSC that haven't engaged yet, and provide an opinion. The reason here, what the point of the discussion is to introduce a behavior similar to the one in Python, where if you enter Control-C on a Node program, it will print the stack trace of what is currently doing. This has spawned a little bit of discussion on if we wanted to be opt-in, opt-out, if we wanted to print it only if there is actually JavaScript code running, because a bunch of folks thought this was completely worthless if there was nothing running, and if we should print a message at all. So I just wanted to bring the attention to this PR because it's going back and forth, the different implementation happening at the same time. So it's probably better if we take a look, because it will change our behavior significantly. So, and the user experience of Node significantly. So it's something that we should really make some decision on ourselves and try it out and see how that will look like.
Does anybody else have thoughts one way or the other that they'd like to share, discuss on this one?
Yeah, this is Girish. Yeah, generally, I'm in favor of any additional options that improve the debugging experience. But in this case, I'm not really finding the point of printing the stack trace on Control C, because at the time when the Control C is pressed, the program would be at some arbitrary points, and what value it is providing, I'm not really clear on that.
It's most useful for programs that are stuck in some way.
Yeah, it seems a little fringe. I mean, we could like control backslash will do sig term, and we could treat that separately, except probably most people don't know about that. So maybe it's not useful.
I don't think it was so much that it's Control C or something else. It sounded to me like Dreesh was wondering how often when you hit Control C, you're going to get what you want. Like if something's waiting on an event in the event loop, you're not going to necessarily see a good stack. It'd be something where you're in a busy type loop in JavaScript or something.
Or an infinite loop or something, yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed Ben's comment that Python developers don't seem to mind it, which is interesting. When I press Control C, it's usually because I've decided I just want Node to go away and stop, not because I'm interested in a stack trace or think that it has a bug. I mean, if it's busy looping, I might, and it's a server, I might kill it from another console, but that will send sig term. I don't have really strong feelings, but I'm a little, it's not clear to me what the value is, and it could be very noisy. That people are running NPM and it's taking too long, and they're like, oh, I didn't mean to NPM install that package. I usually Control C when I do something, I look at it and I'm like, oh, that's not really what I wanted to do. Control C, but I don't want to see a stack. Anyhow, that's my thoughts.
So I tried the branch before, and it had some issues. The current implementation has some issues. One is that there is some sort of implicit constraint in the interrupt callback, which makes executing JavaScript in an interrupt a little bit unreliable, which is what this pull request does. So it may show something weird if you press Control C and you expect certain state of JavaScript, like certain state of the internal JavaScript, but it's not fulfilled, then you will see weird errors coming out of that stat trace. That has nothing to do with your application. That probably needs to be like resolved or like alleviated somehow before you can move forward, or otherwise it will be like just quite buggy, because I can like reproduce that just by running cluster benchmarks and like press Control C and like that will show up. But like other than that, I think there should be a way to opt in, either opt in or opt out, because when you spawn a lot of child processes, it can get really noisy. For example, when you run a cluster benchmark, or like probably doing some kind of tooling, which spawns child processes to do all sorts of work. But yeah, that's my take.
Excuse me. Could we potentially take an approach that requires a command line flag to enable this? You know, we have like trace deprecations, trace warning, trace sync IO. What if we had a trace SIGINT, right? That would only print this and Control C if that is enabled.
That's certainly sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that was raised in the issue, and the argument against that is that it will be less valuable if this is not on by default.
I can see that, but at the same, at the same time, it also becomes less disruptive. Right.
Can we
And
make
if-
that like, sorry,
ahead.
can we make that like experimental at first? Because, this is probably an experimental feature after all.
Yeah, if we make it experimental and behind with the flag, and then as we evolve it, once we're sure, once we determine that if it's not disruptive, or if we are able to resolve these issues over time, then we can make the decision to go ahead and flip it so that that's always on, right? And then we make the command line flag not op.
That was in the issue the last time I looked. That was one of the suggestions that, like, I'd added in, like, nobody's actually said, could we make it, on by default, but with an opt out. The next suggestion was like, well, maybe we should make it opt in, and then consider switching it at major to be on by default.
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of along the lines of what you're suggesting is like, yeah, let's make it experimental. You have to opt in. Once we've had some time to figure that it works well and it's not disruptive, then maybe we flip the default.
With that approach, I would definitely be +1 on it. Just having it on by default right now, I would be -1.
So yeah, I think like jumping into the issue and adding some of that, I think would help.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Maybe we should do like a poll there about the possible approaches that we can take for this, and like see what people feel at this point.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Matteo, you tagged it. Do you want to add a comment to that effect, saying, what are people's thoughts on these different options?
It's very broken down and within different, everybody has some different opinion in there. So that's why I was calling for TSC attention, because this is somehow, like, to some extent, we should make a single statement to the contributor, essentially saying this is where we want it to go.
Right. Maybe the comment is like, TSC members, can you comment on which you prefer of these three options?
Yeah, that would be good. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
So if you can add that, then the ask on all the rest of us is to make sure we go in and say which one.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that after the call. So.
Okay. Specific with ask that TSC members comment their preferred approach. Okay, any more comments, discussion on that one before we move on?
Should we go ahead and remove the TSC agenda label from that item at this point? We're gonna app mention TSC and get people to comment on it, but do we want it on the agenda next week?
Matteo, I think since you tagged it,
I'm good either way.
Okay.
I don't think this is going to land like without us making a statement on it. That's my take.
Okay, let's just leave it on then, but if you want to remove it, feel free.
The way the discussion has gone, it seems something that we should decide. Like, it's so relevant, it's so important for the user experience of Node.js that I feel it's something that we should be deciding what is the default behavior.
Okay, and while I'm at it, Sam, is it okay if to remove the TSC agenda label from the 2 OpenSSL issues we talked about, or leave that on?
No, please. Yeah, if you're looking at them, take the label off. That's done.
On it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so the next one is stream. Don't emit error after destroy. This is 29.197. Feel free to jump in if you've been active. Otherwise, I'm looking at the issue to see who's. I think, Jeremiah, you've been most active recently. I know you've done some comments at the end.
There is a situation here, just to clarify, this is on the list because I would like to land this. Matthias Boos would like to land this. Luigi Pinca is -1 explicit. So if we want to land this, we need to essentially vote or on getting it passed.
So unrelated. Right now, it seems like this PR has unrelated changes in it, and that's what I am objecting to.
Sorry, what's your PR? Sorry, I don't.
We're talking about the HTTP2 thing, right?
No,
Yeah,
this
one.
Oh God. Okay, wrong thing. Yeah.
Yeah, 29197.
Yeah, I just pasted it into the chat.
Yeah, so I'm actually the one who added the label. It would be great, Matteo. You want to land this in a different form than it's in now, or in the form it's in now?
No, I'm good. I'm good in landing it as it is.
Okay, if you could make, you did make your approval explicit, great. So yeah, I mean, Luigi, is against it, and it does seem like a full and complete discussion has been had. Both the arguments for and against have been made, and it does seem like this is blocked without a vote. So it's either close it or vote on it.
Yeah, there are other possible ways, like as Jeremiah said, there are other options, and there are other options to this PR essentially. So there are other options to implement this feature, as Jeremiah states. So
Matteo, it is a simple major, so it does require
yeah.
We don't have that sign off yet. I'm looking at it right now again. And I just want to clarify the only change here is that after the close event is emitted, no other events will be emitted, right? So error comes first before close. After that, error won't be emitted anymore.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm wondering if a statement shouldn't be added to the documentation on that, just clarifying.
About in this PR?
Yeah.
Oh, that can be that. So that is a good feedback. Yes. Okay.
I'll add that as a comment.
If you can add that as a comment, yes, it can have some docs changes. Yes, of course. Yeah, totally.
So I guess what I think Rich was saying is it sounds like the next step might be for somebody to move for a vote.
Yeah, we can iterate a little bit more, but then we can call a vote maybe next meeting or something.
Okay.
Okay, so basically just everybody should be aware that this is coming, and they should educate themselves on it, because their opinions will be asked soon.
I don't think we should vote if there hasn't been 2 approvals, although I'm likely to approve it anyways. But
that's right.
Yeah, that is also possible in case if somebody else from the TSC can take a look at reviewing it and is it saying -1 or +1. That would be also good before taking it to a vote.
I just put a comment in there saying that I will sign off once the documentation is added if the docs look good.
Okay. So basically, we'll iterate a bit more. We need a second TC approval, which sounds like we'll get the docs added, likely get that, and if we're still stuck, then next week we'll likely move for a vote next week. Anything more to discuss on that one before we move on?
Before we move on, the stack trace control C one should stay on the agenda, right? I'm just going to assume yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that one we're asking for. We can check next week if we've got enough TSC members having responded to Teo's question, and if yes, take it off. If no, then it's a reminder for us.
Great.
Okay, so moving on to the next one, which is 25789, ongoing list of actions for Python 3 compatibility. Klaus couldn't make it today, but he did give a fairly comprehensive update there. He raised the good news that the Travis CI tests that he's been set up have all passed with Python 3, and thanks to everybody who's helped make that happen. Still a lot of work, but that was an important milestone. There's a work in progress PR 29431 that pulls together a bunch of work that needs to be, I guess, massaged in, and so help is greatly appreciated on that front if somebody can help out. We still have 25789 with the top ongoing list of to-dos. You know, he's suggesting that 2587 should be reviewed and landed. So if people have time to take a look, that'd be good. Node.js 1844 needs to be fixed to pass the tests and then needs to be reviewed and landed as sort of the two of the higher priority things. And there's still help needed on 29326 and 29415 as two other higher priority ones he'd like to call out. And we've got 112 days to Python 2 end of life. Any questions, comments, discussion on that before we move forward? No, okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and land 25878 right now. Seems ready to go. This was the one that had been blocked by Sacta for a while, but he came back and said looks good.
Okay.
So, just saying it just in case there's any. I don't see any reason why it shouldn't land, and it's been open a while and it looks good. But just in case somebody else has a reservation, I'll wait a few minutes if anybody wants to look at it, and I'll post a link in the chat so you don't have to type it in. I'm talking about this thing. I will land it in about 5 minutes unless somebody texts me here and stops me.
Is that the one on the list? That's 2578. I'm just matching that against the ones he mentioned, but anyway, okay. I'm going to move on. HTTP2 make compat finished match HTTP1. So this is 24347. I'm just looking at who tagged it again. So Sam, no, that was Sam removed the TSC agenda label, but it must have got added back. So Rich, I think you might have added it. That was quite a while back, 23 days ago.
Let me pop in there real quick and take a look and refresh my memory here. Sorry.
This is one Jeremiah has been, maybe this is the one Jeremiah mentioned before.
This is the one that Robert Nagy has open. Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. Oh, it might have should have been removed. Maybe. Let's see. We had the Sitcom. We had
I think it's still contentious.
No. Yeah,
technically. However, I'm pretty sure that the PR contains unrelated changes, so the contention doesn't really matter until that gets resolved anyway.
So I'm the one who added it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and remove the label right now, and I'll leave a comment saying that, like, you know, since the label was added, some conversations clearly happening, and if we, you know, if someone wants to re-add it, they should either do so or leave a comment, and we'll re-add it.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been leaning towards Anatoly's interpretation on this. I haven't been following it closely, so I'm just scanning it over to see if he's had some updates. But yeah, it's, you know, his latest comment there is not even theoretically correct. I'm leaning more towards that. I'd have to go back into it in detail again because it's been, you know, I only looked at it right after it opened. But that was my initial take on it as well. That I don't believe the change is actually correct here. Aside from unrelated changes, I'm leaning -1 on this. I did sign off on it, but then I was looking at it again.
Can you change your sign off so that it's nice and explicit, or is that overkill?
Yeah. No, I just noticed that, so I'll do that now.
To be clear, this change would, even if it's not, I don't know, underneath in the state, like entirely correct, it would change the behavior to be exactly as the docs say, which would be in line with both the HTTP and HTTP2 docs.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely not saying that a change should not be made here. I just don't think this change is the one that's correct. So, and it looks like, Anatoly's still kind of working through it with Robert. So I just don't think I don't think there's anything we should do right here. We should just continue letting it work through the process.
Okay. Any other discussion on that one before we move on? If not, okay, let's move on to the ones tagged under Node.js TSC. The first one is next week's meeting conflicts with modules team meeting number 748. We had worked around that by just moving the, switching 1 week time with the other week. So maintaining the different time slots that we have, but just not having them in the same order. It does sound from Chalker, though, that the current spreadsheet shows that we should just update it to being an hour later.
So the times are going to change, according to Chalker. The times are going to change when we anticipate Beth and Tobias being added to the TSC before long, and when that happens, the times are going to change anyway. So I wonder if we should just kick this down the road another week, unless it's referring to actually next week's meeting. Is it actually next week's meeting, or was this a meeting?
I don't think next week is a problem.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think we should have a problem every 6 weeks at the current cycle. So
yeah. I mean, his last comment is that even the current spreadsheet just says we should just change it to be an hour later. That would be a pretty easy change.
Oh yeah, I'm on board.
So I'm like, I can easily just drag it an hour later unless there's any objections, and that's kind of what I was going to suggest we do.
+1.
Any objections? Okay, so Mike, I'm just going to say Michael will update the calendar entry. And then if we have to change it again as we bring people on, we'll do that, but that seems like a simple, straightforward fix. Let's just do it. Okay, the next two issues are nominating Tobias and Bethany, as we believe our standard practice of inviting them to a number of TSC meetings. We've done that. Haven't heard any complaints or objections. We have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 9 people here. So it's not quite enough for a vote, which is what our charter requires. So our plan that we discussed a little bit before the meeting started was to make sure we don't have any objections for the people who are present. If not, then we will assume that the people who are here have voted +1, and then we'll go back to, put that into the original issues that were open with their nominations. We'll also make a comment stating that, for people who've already +1 in that original issue, we'll consider that a +1 vote unless they object by the end of the week, and ask anybody who, isn't covered by those two to comment, to vote, before the end of the week as well. Any objections to proceeding in that way? Okay, we'll take silence as consensus for those who are here. That's the way we'll proceed. I'll add in a few minutes, and post those comments in the issue. The next issue then to move on to is under Node.js /admin. It's the moderation team recertification, number 408. Rich, yep.
So yeah, it's just something we got to do every year, and it's that time. I don't think we should recertify the team en masse. I think we should, I think we should, get the list of individuals, and I strongly suspect that there are individuals who are currently on the moderation team who are not active, and I think that we should make a point to not recertify those people, because moderation folks are owners of the GitHub repo, and we should be really cautious about that stuff. We also should, figure out a way that, it's been a while since new people, it's been a year actually, since anyone new has been nominated for the moderation team. And so, if there are active people in the Node.js org who think that is the type of thing they would like to do, I would love to see them self-nominate. And if anybody has people they want to nominate, please do. I used to be a member of the moderation team, and when I left, it was to take a hiatus. So I might self-nominate to get back on, but I might want this hiatus to go another year. I don't know. We'll see. So that's all I got.
Okay, so I definitely agree with we should just recert those who are active. I think you're working on determining that list. Is that fair, or?
Yeah, I'll take that on. Okay,
so Rich will identify the active, non-active in a list, and then we can use that to recert, right?
Yeah, I think I actually started to do it already in an issue, but I'll find it and I'll email people and I'll try to get more active in that. Yeah.
Yeah, if you just say here's the people that are active, and here the people aren't active, let's recert the active people. I think that would be enough for us to all just say +1 and close that out. Once you get a good handle on that, because I understand that's work though. Any other comments, discussions on that one? Okay, if not, I'm going to pop back to the section I missed because it's new on the agenda, which is the CPC and board meeting updates. Matteo, would you like to give an update on the CPC side?
CPC is progressing, doing his job. It's I was just about to drop the code, so I'll keep these embarrassingly short. So CPC is doing his job, essentially going to standardize the various project criteria, project champions, and so on and so forth that are critical for onboarding new projects. There are a few new projects being onboarded with the projects that are applying. So those are kind of big problematic, big thing that needs to be taken care of by the CPC. And in fairness, those are also very important because adding new projects is also part of one of the key functions on the CPC itself. So that would be my update. I don't know if there is anything more to say, but I really need to drop at this point. So I'm sorry, sure. But I need. Okay. I got to leave. So
the one thing I might add is that there is work on a proposal to for the code of conduct handling. It shouldn't really be anything new there because the proposal already included the sort of the approach, but this is how we'll handle the reporting internally. So, but if you're interested in that side of things, that's worth taking a look at. There's also been, just as a reminder, a few of the repos are moving up to the OpenJS from the Node repo, and we've seen that happen for the Summit repo. And there's a discussion of doing a similar thing for the part of the user feedback that was supporting user surveys. So just again, if you see that happening, shouldn't be a surprise because it's been raised and discussed, but it's actually taking place. On the board side, I don't think there's anything new, but what I'm going to do is just flip over right this second to see if there's anything in the admin board which is active or been added recently. I don't think there will be though. So yeah, so we don't have anything in the board. The only thing there is like regular updates on new companies joining the foundation, and I haven't heard of any new companies since the last update on that front. So unless there's any questions or comments on that, I'll move back to the strategic initiative section. Okay, so on the strategic initiatives, let me just pop over to that. I have to find the link. Sorry. Okay, so we don't have Miles. NAPI, working on there's work on the workshops for Node+JS Interactive, and there's also some work starting on thread safe function, which has actually been, there's been a lot of access interest around that. And somebody's kind of raised a global issue of like, here's a few things which make it a little bit harder to use. And like we did for the async worker functionality, we're then sort of thinking and talking about the strategy on how to address that, and we'll work through some different PRs to fix that up. Next, Mateo's gone. Jeremiah, so new streams.
Nothing to report right now, and any progress will probably be slower than it has been, simply due to some, due to my employment situation currently.
Okay. Let me just know. Okay, do we have Michael's also? I don't think so. Via currencies. Joy, anything you want to add on open web standards?
No updates this week.
Okay, we already did the Python 3 update done above. A quick HTTP 3.
Yeah, so just ongoing progress slowed just a little bit because the some of the underlying APIs in NGTCP, which is still a work in progress, the APIs changed and completely broke everything. A lot of the stuff I had written. It's the fun of working against a moving target. So currently working on getting TLS handshake working again, and then we'll go from there. I am in progress of preparing a initial PR or to move development into the main repo. It puts Quick behind a configure flag. So just building by default will not have any other stuff in it. You'd have to enable a flag to build it, and it would still be very, very experimental still. So once I get the implementation working again and clear out a few other line items, then hopefully that'll be by the end of September. I'll have that PR open.
Okay. Actually, the one thing that I remembered that I did want to say on NAPI is I want to give a big thanks to, it's at Ganguilan, I think, which I probably got wrong, but he's been putting a lot of work into the Node add-on examples repo to clean it up, fix up some of the examples. And so, you know, thanks a lot on that front in terms of helping with the examples we have for add-ons, both using NAPI and NAN and so forth. Next one is startup performance. Joy, any update on that one?
I opened a VA issue about something that blocks the snapshot integration, and I'm working on that. I'll put a link to the notes.
Okay, thank you. Box snapshot. And then build resources. Rich, anything on that front that you'd like to comment?
I don't think so this week, other than like finding a sustainable path for build resources is taking a bit of a okay.
Sorry, I had to plug in my headset again, so I missed
okay, yeah. Finding the sustainable path for build resources is sort of invariably leads me to trying to make the Windows tests more reliable. And so I don't know if I'm losing the forest for the trees when I do that, but that's kind of been where I've been trying to make an impact. This whole build research thing has been dragging on for like a year now, probably, and I don't really have a whole lot to show for it. Yeah, if anybody has ideas as to how we might more efficiently and effectively come to some kind of solution here, I don't know, maybe making a request to the, I don't know. Yeah, you know, even every idea I come up with has problems. Anyway, this is a real sticky issue, and there's no progress this week. But keep it on the agenda.
I think that's the thing you just mentioned, though, is like, is there a point where we need to ask for more help? You know, either from, you know, and there's.
But I mean, the whole act of asking is itself fraught with controversy. Like there are people like Rod who you know absolutely see, you know, make very reasonable arguments that is that would be a step backwards in a lot of ways.
Right.
So you know, everything is so complex. You know, is so like nobody. There's no, just among like you and Rod and me and Joao. Like there's not even like agreement on the way forward.
Right. No, I agree with that, but I'm not saying like ask for paid help or whatever, but even like, can we, I mean, I guess we need to discuss it, but like we could go to the board and say, we want more of the member companies to help and get involved in build.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, certainly, and I mean, you know, I'm not going to do it here, but we could even, you know, name names as to like, you know, who, you know, I mean, you know, there are certainly companies that are putting a lot more into build than other companies, and that's you know, and that's the way it's going to be no matter what. But yeah, certainly some targeted help from some specific companies would be hugely useful to Node.
It's kind of like as the board representative, you know, for Node, if there was consensus that I should go to them and say, hey, you know, this is actually a problem. We've been trying to figure out a recommendation. You know, we want more board help suggestions or whatever. You know, that's one thing we could do, but we, you know, I'm not going to do that until, as a project, we've said, yeah, we want to ask for that help, and it doesn't have to be in a specific form, as in. We don't. Yeah. So I don't know if we even agree. We definitely don't agree on paid support, but like.
So Michael, we have 3 minutes until the top of the hour, and this is for updates. But we should definitely have this conversation.
Okay.
You and me, definitely.
So next action, why don't you and I have that discussion, and then we can see if maybe in an upcoming meeting we can. Have a discussion with the TSC.
I don't know that the conversation is going to happen in the next week, but it will happen. Yes, that is definitely something that we should do.
Okay, so I'll let you, it sounds like I'll let you set that up when you have time or available.
That works for me, yes. Shouldn't be too long, but it might not be this week.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so that's the end of our updates and the end of our agenda. So we have 2 minutes. Is there anything else that people want to discuss before we end for today? If not, thanks for everybody for taking the time to attend, and we'll talk to everybody in GitHub and again next week. Thanks.
Thanks, Michael.
Bye.
Bye.